Welcome to the Digital Amateur Television Experimenters Night. This is VK7OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania. Amateur radio is a worldwide hobby that has many different aspects. Digital television is just one of the many modes and areas that are covered. Maybe you're interested in becoming involved in the DATV Experimenters Nights. You realise that you do not have to be a radio amateur or need any ATV equipment to participate anywhere in the world. Also participate in the night by coming up to the Queen's Domain club rooms. Yes, right on top of the Queen's Domain in the heritage-listed Coast Wireless Station. You never know, we might get you in front of the camera or behind doing one of the many roles during the night. We get underway with our program on a Wednesday night from 7:30 p.m. local time. We'll see you soon. This is VK7OTC.
Okay, this is VK7OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania with our DATV Experimenters Night. And I have Rex VK7MO in the studio. Good evening, Rex.
Justin.
How's your day been?
Pretty good, yes.
Excellent,
Yes.
excellent. Now, you have a number of things I think you would like to show us.
You're right. Well, we might start with the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Because this is sort of related to it at the end.
Okay, let me just go to here and head to here and hold my tongue right here. And all right.
Okay. In a place called Currajong, which is
Where the Radio Museum is.
really in
Currajong.
Victoria.
Currajong Radio Museum, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Righto.
Other than
I stand corrected.
Other than a few farmhouses
Oh, okay.
and the beacon site, I don't think there's anything at Currajong.
Maybe there's another one in New South Wales.
Maybe. But in Victoria, I guess it's 20 or 30 kilometres south of Churchill, where we go
Okay, Gippsland.
for our Gips Tech.
Yep.
The Churchill group, who use any spare cash they can get that's left over after running the conference to run their beacons.
Cool.
And they run beacons on pretty well everything, right up to microwaves, even 10 gigs.
At 10 gigs, well and truly.
Yeah. And at least up to 1296, they're all GPS locked and very stable. And what I've been doing is monitoring their 1296 meg beacon in Hobart.
Okay.
And admittedly, to do this, you do need very narrow bandwidth.
Right, yes.
And once you do that, it's, at least over the summer, it's there 90% of the time.
Well, there you go. Can you correlate when it's not there? Like,
well, I can tell when it's not there, yes,
Yeah,
because...
does it correlate to conditions or Hepburn charts? Or
we're going to talk a little bit about that, but
Sorry.
it may be a bit premature to overly talk about correlation,
Right.
but so we'll go to the next slide. Now, this is a Spectrum Lab plot for about the last 10 days.
Okay.
And and this is plotting signal to noise ratio with the scale going up to 40 dB.
Okay.
And you can see there's been a couple of nice bursts early, about 10 days ago. There was a burst that went up to about 30 dB. Now,
there.
There.
Yep.
I should exclude these ones that go to the top, which are very sharp, straight lines.
Right.
They are caused by the fact that I run the QSO party on 1296 every Sunday morning.
Okay, so that's every Sunday.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they're not totally every Sunday. Sometimes I also go on 1296, and there are other bursts there that we have to ignore. So we're only concentrating on the sort of
well, that's a good baseline reference.
the graphical stuff that's moving up and down.
Yes. Yeah.
And so there's a burst there. There's a burst there.
Yep.
There's absolutely zero for a little bit there, which is no, that's still valid, but it went to zero.
Okay.
But a little bit further on to the right, there's a long burst of zero. See, a bit further.
Oh, there. Yeah. Okay.
That's when I actually didn't have the antenna connected.
Okay.
And there wasn't a lot of signal.
No.
But in general, there's some little bursts or little sections that drop down to zero, most of the time the beacon is there.
Oh, truly. And some of these are...
That's right. And this is only in the last couple of days, that one.
Okay.
Admittedly, to get this signal, I'm using a bandwidth of 85 millihertz.
Ooh, how long does that take?
Well, it obviously the reciprocal of 85 millihertz, I think, is about 12 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad.
But given that I'm plotting this so slowly, it doesn't really matter if it's
Correct.
integrated over 12 seconds.
Yep.
But it does show up, and what we'll do now is...
And what's the distance we're talking about here?
About 540 kilometres.
Yeah, okay.
And it's over the mountains in central Tasmania, and
well and truly.
you know.
All right.
So we'll go to the next slide. Now this was Monday, and the signal had started to build up.
Okay. So that's that big peak that we were looking at.
That started on that peak, yes, on this little rise just here.
Oh, okay. So we're about here.
Yes,
Okay.
actually at 12Z, sorry. Yes, we're on that line, that's 12Z. So it only just started to peak up.
Okay.
And I looked at the Radiosonde data,
Definitely.
and there's a lovely duct, but it's up at between 2,000 and 2,400 metres.
Okay.
So very high, and you wouldn't expect you could get into a duct if you were having to beam up that high.
Yep. Okay.
But we'll move on to the next one. Now this time the duct had dropped down.
Yep.
Now this is about as low as you can get and still get over all the mountains in
the middle.
In the middle, and that's when the 38 dB signal.
Ah, okay. So that's sorry, I went the wrong way.
That's this signal peak.
So
here.
that's this peak here.
That's that peak there.
Okay.
And now we go past the peak, and the duct's broken up into 3 little ducts.
Okay. Yes.
And the signal's dropped down.
Are they called ducklings? Oh, sorry.
Yes, there must be ducklings.
Oh, please, that was bad.
Okay, and next. Now this one, that's today. It's really dropped off. There's a tiny little duct.
It's still up at 2,000.
Well, it's gone back. You see.
Yeah, gone back to the original.
It's gone back, Now, I thought, well, maybe there's some little ducts in here.
Yep.
And so I expanded the scale, and there is a little duct.
Ah, yes. But that's going to hit the mountains in the middle.
That's right. And it's so tiny because that duct is only 20 metres wide and hardly changes at all in it. So
Yeah, okay.
I don't think it's got anything to do with it, but that's what I was looking for.
No, okay.
Now, given that I'm sort of focusing on the height of ducts, and I want to be able to position people like Richard in the duct
Yep.
up Mt Wellington,
Yep.
I thought after that duct had dropped down to just about 1,200 metres, just above Mt Wellington,
Yep.
Yesterday I went up Mt Wellington and I took a little temperature humidity sensor which I put on the roof of my car, and that is this device.
So that is, hang on, let's move that box, which is our next presentation. Let's go to here. So this little box here.
What it does is it's got a Bluetooth transmitter which goes to your mobile phone, and
And it's a little lithium cell.
a lithium cell that's supposed to last for 2 years.
Oh my goodness, okay.
So it doesn't have an on-off switch. You just replace the battery 2 years later.
Yeah, okay.
And it's only $49 US. It's, you know.
So it's temperature, humidity,
And that's all.
and that's all. Okay,
That's
okay.
all.
Okay.
Now, it comes, well, it doesn't come with any software, but it comes with instructions where you get the app.
Oh, okay. Yes,
And
there's
they-
an app for that.
And
Yeah.
there's apps for iPhones and apps for Android.
Yes. Okay.
And what it does is it transmits to your, well, in my case, my iPhone, and we'll go to the next slide.
Hang on. Let's go to the next slide. Yes.
No, the next
The next slide. Yes.
Right, and it prints out these little graphs,
Oh,
which,
cool. Okay.
in this case, what I did is I started from home, and it was up around 26 degrees.
Yep.
This is yesterday.
Okay.
I drove up to the top of Mt Wellington,
Okay.
where the first time it hits the bottom is when I was at the top of the mountain, and that's only 13 degrees, so it's changed by,
13 degrees.
yes, driving up. And what I was looking for was a duct. Now, there was a lovely peak there and a tiny peak there,
Yeah.
and I would have liked to seen it all be symmetrical because I was driving up and down. I think I later found out that the duct didn't actually drop, and so I
Okay.
wasn't actually recording the duct. I mean, I was thinking I was, but it turned out that there's some roadworks on Mt Wellington which has got stoplights one way, and each of these peaks were when I was stopped. And I think they're caused by the fact that I didn't have airflow over the sensor, and probably the thermal mass of the car was was causing it. So it turned out to not solve the what I was hoping to find.
Okay.
But I think it's potentially an interesting way of doing it.
Well and truly.
I think there's a few things that have to be modified. First of all, you'd have to drive continuously so you've got the same airflow.
Yes. Yeah.
And secondly, you'd have to make sure the sun's not shining on it.
Right.
And so put it in a bit like a Stevenson screen that the Met people use, but some way of shielding it from the sun. But it potentially might be a way of finding the height of the duct.
Correct. A local type of measure.
Because we only get the Radiosonde data every 12 hours at Hobart Airport.
Yep. Yeah.
and this way you might be able to use it.
Okay.
I must admit, I'm not totally confident that the duct would be good right on the mountain, because I think just the air on the mountain might disturb it.
So that hole there is where the sensors are behind.
It worries me how the sensors get their information. Because when I worked for the Bureau of Met on radiosondes, we went to a lot of trouble to make sure the air flowed over the sensors
and it wasn't impeded and wasn't
and so forth. Whereas the way this works doesn't give me that same confidence, but
okay.
It's just worth looking at. That's all.
But phenomenal what you can basically do. You've got temperature and humidity in a little box that you basically can be anywhere, so long as it's within Bluetooth range
of your mobile phone. So
that's phenomenal.
I mean, you can also use it, put it in your fridge, and find out what your fridge is going down to. And
well and truly.
I actually was also putting it outside on my 1296 MiG PA to see how hot it got.
Yes, yeah, okay. And how hot did it get? Did you see it?
40 degrees.
Okay, yes, so reasonably warm.
Yes.
Okay.
Partly because it's out there in the sun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well and truly.
Yeah.
Well, that's just going back to, so is the relative humidity telling us anything there, or?
Well, I don't know that it's telling us much there, but you can see relative humidity is almost the inverse of
the temperature.
Yeah. And that's because at high temperatures, at cold temperatures, your relative temperature tends to move to saturation with the same amount of moisture in the air. And when you heat the air up, the relative humidity is a smaller proportion of what it can hold in the air.
Okay.
And so it's the reciprocal of that. What you also see on the radiosonde traces is as soon as you hit the temperature inversion, the humidity usually drops away very rapidly, like goes from 100% to 10%.
Yeah, okay.
And I was hoping to see something like that, but the reality is there was no temperature inversion when I did this test. Well, probably wasn't.
Mind you, that went from that's about 81%.
To 38%.
To 38%. So that's 50-odd%. That's
pretty dramatic.
Well,
I mean, I was thinking that humidity actually might be a better measure of the duct, or indicator of the duct, than temperature. Both humidity and temperature affect the radiorefractive index, and are therefore important in establishing the duct. And in practical terms, humidity has a greater role than temperature. But the reason the humidity varies is because it gets trapped in the inversion. So you need the inversion to get it, but once you've got it, the humidity does the stuff for the radio. Well, most of it. Some of it's the temperature. The other point which I have only learnt recently is that the ducts extend below. We could go back to a couple of slides back. Just go one more back. Yes, previously I've always plotted what was called N units, which really show the intensity of the duct at the point of the inversion. Now the inversion is when the temperature is actually going down. To going up, actually, the way this works. But the nice thing about this, what's called M units, modified refractive, is you can approximate the size of the duct by just drawing a straight line between that peak and when it hits the same.
The same.
Same.
Yeah, okay.
Now, previously I thought it was only the top little section from here to here that was useful for ducting, but in fact it's quite a bit wider.
Because that's 400 metres.
That's right. And previously I would have said there was only about 50 metres.
Was okay.
Useful.
So that's actually quite a bit bigger duct.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Mind you,
there are a lot of little ducts too.
Yeah. They're, what are they, a couple of 100 metres or 100 metres?
Not
100 metres.
Maybe 100 metres, yeah.
That's about half.
Yeah, and they're not very intense.
Yeah, okay.
And if we keep going...
It's about the same.
The next one, there's a tiny duct. God, I've changed the scale, so this is only 20 metres.
That's only 20 metres.
Yeah, and hardly at all.
No, okay.
Okay, that's it.
Well, fantastic, Rex. Thank you very much. And there's your sensor.
Thank you.
And look forward to the next instalment.
Okay. Oh, no,
Cool.
you're going to introduce Ross Hull, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Now, what we'll do is we had... I'll just do a quick setup here because I'll focus in on we're going to do a review of Amateur Radio magazine in a fair bit of depth. But one of the articles in the latest Amateur Radio magazine is a wonderful article on Ross Hull and the... Oh, that's a good point. Let's put it there. Ross Hull and the Selden Hill Gang, which is his experimentation in, goes through some of his experimentation into propagation in the States.
Yes.
Now, and this is all occurring in the 1930s, and some people know that I collect ARRL handbooks, historic ones. This is a 1930 edition of the Radio Amateurs Handbook, what became the ARRL Handbook originally. And if we open this up, and you can see it came from Melbourne, McGill's.
Yeah, mine does too.
There you go. And you can also see, you can actually see who the owner of it there is in pencil. Oh no, sorry, I thought there was a penciled name in there. But anyway, Handy and Hull.
Yes.
Handy and Hull. So if we open up here, this is 1930, Francis Edward Handy and Ross A. Hull, who is the Associate Technical Editor QST in charge ARRL Technical Development Program. And this is the 6th edition of the Radio Amateurs Handbook.
Yeah.
So this is a 1930. I've got also a 1933, and I've got an earlier one, but the cover's missing.
Right.
So I don't actually know what date it is, because the date's only in those first couple of pages, which are missing.
Okay. Well, I think mine might be a 5th edition.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, keep hold of that, Rex, because it's
I mean, I've got mine because my dad was around in the 1930s. He actually only got his license in 1930, but he must have been at least a little bit interested before to have an ARRL handbook.
Well and truly.
He actually knew Ross Hull. Well, he knew Max Hull, who was Ross Hull's brother. Okay. And it was arranged, and my dad did a trip to the United States in 1936, and...
That would have been an adventure.
Well, a T-model Ford, which he bought second hand, and then drove all around the United States with a handful of QSL cards.
delivering them?
No, just
eyeball QSOs. Yeah.
eyeball QSOs.
Okay.
And much of the time, Hams invited him in and put him up and so forth. So
fantastic.
But he visited Ross Hull, who showed him over the ARRL headquarters.
Yes. Okay.
And I'm not sure whether he might have even shown him to Seddon Hill.
Well, that's the ARRL headquarters, the headquarters station. So
and this is 1936, and unfortunately by 1938, Ross Hull was doing experiments with high voltage.
Yes.
And apparently reached under, according to this article, reached under a bench to switch something on or off and got himself across the high voltage and was killed.
And you can see lots of open bus bars and everything on the ARRL station. So very similar, unfortunately, very similar.
One of the things that Ross Hull is very famous for is they studied the effect of the weather on VHF propagation.
Right.
Some people think Ross Hull was the first to discover ducting. However, what he did discover was that the weather affected 6 metre propagation over a path, and I think what he really discovered was the refractive index was changing, and that was affecting the signal strength.
Okay.
Ducts very rarely go down as far as 6 metres.
Yeah.
You need a very wide duct to get 6 metres to work, and I have never experienced 6 metres working on ducting.
Yeah, okay.
So I very much doubt that it was a duct. And what I thought about this article, it sort of made the point very carefully that it was not ducting that Ross Hull discovered.
Yeah, okay.
But he did discover a relationship between the weather and VHF propagation,
Yep.
Which is certainly the first time that was done.
Okay.
And as a result of that, the WIA run what's called the Ross Hull contest each year for 6 metres and above to honour his work at 6 metres and his contribution to ammo. Yeah.
Well and truly, which is huge.
Yes.
Which is, and he went on to be the technical editor of QST, and also the handbooks back in the 30s until his unfortunate demise. So the Australian made good.
Yes.
Well and truly. So and both the 30 and the 33 have him as the contributing editor. So there you go. So fantastic.
Okay.
Good stuff. Thank you, Rex.
All right. I will leave you to it.
Now I'll give you that back.
Oh yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Rex. All right. We'll do a bit of a reset in the studio. Now, the Langstone project. I've mentioned this a few times. The Adalm Pluto Microwave SDR module, which is a development module that an active learning module. Sorry, an active learning module development platform that Analog Devices put out, and with some commands, you can actually extend the range of this from 70 megs to 6 gigs. And if we go to the... Okay, so this is done a little bit of work around the... this is the control surface. So this is a Raspberry Pi with a Raspberry Pi 4 sitting at the back. Raspberry Pi 7-inch touch screen, and you can see you can select the bands, etc., etc. that you want. What the control surface is doing is sending those commands via USB to the Pluto. There is also a, if we have a look off the side here, there is a USB sound card. This is a sound card that I've got plugged into some speakers down here. So that's the, and just to prove that there is actually, it is actually doing something, I've got a 23 centimetre handheld, quad band handheld here. And if I transmit, you can see there's a signal come up here. Now, what I will actually do, just to demonstrate, go to 439. For some reason, the 23 centimetre, and I haven't quite worked out yet why, is about 10 kilohertz off, whereas all of the other frequencies are not. So this is 70 centimetres, and I've got a MD380, which is programmed for a whole lot of analog channels as well. This is the 439, so there's the signal coming from the handheld, which is obviously right next to these antennas, but you can hear the latency's not bad. There's very little latency, but that's receiving 439 FM, absolutely pinning the meter, and you can control squelch, and you can also control volume. You can switch the volume up here. The control that they have implemented here is a mouse thumb wheel, and there's a number of other arrangements where they put the thumb wheel as little Arduinos and have optical encoders that they can put nice tuning knobs on and all sorts of stuff. So that's a work in progress. I've literally only just put this control surface together today. So the control surface, you've got the ability to change the squelch, select the bands. So there's 70 megs, there's 2 meters, 70 centimeters, 23 centimeters upwards. If we push more, we get up to 3.4 gigs, 2.4. There's a parrot in the background. 10 gigs. Now 10 gigs is using harmonic mixing. As soon as you go past 6 gigs with the Pluto, you're into harmonic mixing area. It also supports the 24 gigs. That's experimental. I think they're a bit ambitious with the 47 gig in here, but it's there. There is a beacon mode that you can select. There's the mode, which is USB, CW, FM, and AM. You can set a duplex arrangement, so you can run a repeater type transmission from it. For those who don't know, the Pluto, one's a transmit antenna, one's a receive antenna, so they bring them out into separate antennas. The transmitter's capable, dependent on the frequency, of a couple of milliwatts. So yeah, certainly okay for shack and demonstration purposes. There's a few other. The set enables you to go through. You can see and set a whole lot of the different receiver gain. You can then go through break-in for CW, CW ident you can put in, SSB receive filter high and low, the S meter levels, attenuation, TX attenuation, the fast Fourier transform reference. So that's that gives you the background reference level. Copy the band bits to the Pluto. I haven't quite worked out what that is yet, but I'll work out what that is and report back. Harmonic mixing. Okay, transmit harmonic mixing by 1 up to multiplication 5, so 5 times. The offset, you can set offsets here. Harmonic mixing for the receiver, the same story. Offsets for the receivers. The repeater shift, if you want in there, which you can put in. FM mic gain. the FM mic, the mic goes in through the sound card in the same way as the speakers come out. SSB mic gain and RX gain, and we're back to where we were. So so yeah, this is the rudimentary control surface. Certainly works a treat. Lots of people on the Langstone project have put all of this into a box and made up the Arduino to provide the tuning knobs and bits and pieces, and even put speakers and all sorts of stuff in there, so it looks a bit more like a radio. But anyway, this is the Langstone project. I'll give you some updates as we head through. Actually, if we go to 5.7, that's a good point. I'm getting something here. Oh, on 439. There you go. Oh, where's 5.7? That's a good point. Anyway, let's go up. Let's kill that. Someone's playing silly buggers. 5.7. So we're starting to come down into, I don't know whether we're going to get some 5.7, 5.8. This is around the Wi-Fi type of frequency. 5.7. We're going to have to get it when it's actually transmitting on Wi-Fi. But anyway, this is up in the Wi-Fi segment. 2.4 is the same sort of thing. 2.4. Oh, there we go. There's a fair bit of background background noise. There'd be all sorts of, yeah, right there. And you can see it heading up and down and all over the place. So so yeah. But anyway, this is the Langstone project. I'll keep you up to date on how we go with it. But this is what it looks like in a skeletal form, and we'll work out how we put it in a box and bits and pieces and start using it in anger. So anyway, so now, oh me knee. Okay. Now calling Richard. If Richard can make his way to the studio, whilst Richard's making his way to the studio, I'll update you on. And this is something we had on quite a while ago, and has taken it in leaps and bounds, absolute leaps and bounds. So now close-up cam. All right, the Digirig interface. Now the Digirig interface, I'll just do a bit of a tidy digital modes interface. Digirig.net, and it's by Dennis Kresak, who is K0TX, who supplies these wonderful little cards. So there's the QR code if you're interested in a Digirig interface. Now, Dennis's objective here was to basically create a single box that has a USB-C on one side, and it has two interfaces on the other side, namely your serial port for your cat control and then your audio port. And so everything from the rig, minimum number of cables required, absolute minimum number of cables required, and tidies it up, and everything gets converted to USB. There's a USB sound card that sits in here, and everything gets converted to USB and off to the computer. So it really tidies up your digital interface and puts everything into the digital domain from this point onwards. So now, the reason I've got this one, and this one just arrived in the post from Dennis, I contacted Dennis to ask about my FT847, which is the main rig that I use in the shack. Have had that for many years. Love that rig. It's the satellite Earth station rig that Yozu produced an awful long time ago. And the cat control for that particular rig, and for quite a number of that era of rigs, actually uses RS-232. And RS-232, the specification for RS-232 is plus and minus 3 volts to 15 volts. And so you have to be a little bit careful what you plug it into, because if there is not a RS-232 transceiver on the end of it, you're liable to blow up the IC that it's actually being plugged into, because most ICs are not used to having plus and minus 3 to 15 volts, which of course is that's the advantage of RS-232, and the reason why RS-232 was so stable and so able to operate in really noisy environments quite satisfactorily, because you had swings of almost 30 volts from plus to minus 15 volts potentially. So anyway, Dennis let me know that the Digirig interface that I got for the 817 would not be compatible. That was I think about a 1.3 or 1.4 or a version. This is a 1.6 version, and now has, if you undo those screws, there are some little solder tags on the actual PCB for the Digirig that enables you to connect it so that it can take and also provide RS-232 voltages out of the Digirig interface. So this one is fully compatible with RS-232, and in fact Dennis has come up with a whole lot of curly cords these days. This one is the RS-232, comes out as a DB9 for the cat control, and also I also ordered from him the let me unplug that. These are brand spanking new. You'll notice that all of his very nice curly cord USB cables are now all labelled up with Digirig, so looking very professional these days. And they're fabric curly cords, so they're not plastic. And so I've made up the audio cable, which heads off to the packet plug. Now that's a mini DIN on the back of the 847, so don't be confused. I bring the mini DIN out to a patch bay, which has got real sized DIN connectors on it, which are much easier to solder. So that's the cable, and that's the arrangement that I use for the 847 now. I used to use a manual RS-232 cable with a USB interface and an isolating audio cable and all sorts of stuff. And now it basically is what you're looking at there. And that's all I need to actually digitally control the 847 from something like WSJT or something of the like. So there you go. That's the latest and greatest from Dennis Kresak, K0TX, who is the creator of Digirig, and so fantastic little digital interface that very easy to use, very easy to install the drivers and get it all working, and really neat little arrangement, and just tidies up the shack quite dramatically. So yeah. So now. Calling Mr. Richard. If you can make your way to the studio, I'll let you have a look at the front cover of Amateur Radio magazine, whilst I go and grab Richard. You've Sorry, you've been given the finger.
The waggly finger.
The waggly finger, it's you, it's you. Oh. And I welcome Richard VK7ZBX into the studio.
Good
evening, Richard. How you going?
Oh, look, I'm bloody good. Don't let that be a challenge, though.
No, this is an easy challenge.
Oh, good.
This is an easy challenge that relates to Amateur Radio Magazine, their latest and greatest.
Oh, good.
And the this particular volume is dedicated to contesting.
Well, how about that?
And surprise, surprise, there is a wonderful little article in here. I'll go to page 47, which is the Alan Shannon VK4SN report on the 2021 Remembrance Day contest.
Did we go in that?
I think we may have. I think VK7 took it out for the 7th time.
Oh, how about that, hey?
So some of the highlights here I've just noted here. The top team happened to be a team called Cronies +1.
Oh, how about that?
Which is Mr. ZBX Murray, VK7ZMS, and Hayden, VK7HH, with a earth-shattering score of
2,932. Should have been 3,000.
So close, yet so far.
That's exactly right.
Now, there were 310 logs submitted, which is fantastic because it's up from 256 the year before, which is excellent. That is really, really good.
How can you not put your log in though? If you use the software, you just click the button.
That's...
Well, maybe click a couple of buttons.
Correct, yeah. Just a few buttons, just a few... Oh, Andrew. Hello to Andrew Elwell, who's watching from somewhere. You might want to let us know where you're watching from, Andrew. So good stuff. Now, what those 310 logs had in them was 38,076 QSOs, which is phenomenal. And the points made in the article that there were 1,459 log adjustments.
Hands up those that have never had to make an adjustment.
Well, and VK7 is actually called out here. Because, and I quote, many points were lost due to the logging of incorrect band, prominently VK7's jumping from one band to another without due care to log details correctly. So
I'm sure we were probably all guilty of that.
Yeah, mea culpa, mea culpa. Yeah. Thanks, Alan. So yeah, but from the scoring point of view, I won't put this up because it would just be confusing on the screen. The highest we had the highest weighted score, which is how we actually won here, because it's all about participation. So it's the percentage of amateurs who participate versus the percentage of amateurs in that particular state.
Yep.
So from our point of view, we had the percentage of licensees who put a log in was 9%. Now,
really, that all?
That's all. However, 9%. Have a look at VK6 was 3%, 3% for VK5, 1% for VK4, 2% for VK3, 1% for VK2, and 2% for VK1.
Mind you, I suppose 2% of VK2 is considered
correct.
Like
Correct. But we had 9%.
That's pretty flash.
So our weighted score was 20.44, and the next highest weighted score was VK5 with 5.87%. So it's 4 times that.
But even the percentage of participants that put a log in, we were 48%.
Correct.
VK6 was right up there, 45%.
45. So okay, but they only had 3%. Yep. So it's all about participation rate. That's what the RD is all about.
Our badgering must be paying off. All those SMSs and all those phone calls, Justin.
It's worth it. Believe me, it's worth it. Now, when you have a look at the single operator phone section here, I'd just like to point out that we had VK2 EFM, who was the one who came first with 1,215 points. Fantastic. VK7HH with 10,030.
1,000.
Sorry, 1,030. 1030. VK5 PAS Paul with 1,028. So that's only 2 less. VK7ZBX
1,027.
1,027. So that's 1 less. Now that's bear in mind we had adjusted scores here, so we probably went in thinking we were way up there, but by the time it got adjusted, we were not.
Not so much.
And then VK7TW was
1,024.
1,024. So between 2 to 5, there is 6 points.
Yeah. Got to have that.
So I just that jumped out at me. I went, wow, like you got to be kidding. So anyway, that's the Remembrance Day. The other things that are in this fine magazine, very interesting article about and a review, and I love the byline here, which is from Russia with love. The Lab 599 TX500. Now this is a HF and 6 meter radio. The interesting thing is, it's only about the thickness of a cigarette packet.
Wow.
we just happen to have one here. Not that we're smokers.
Can't afford it.
Well, truly. Now, comparison to the 817.
817, yeah, look at that.
It's actually thinner than an 817. It only is HF and 6 metres, but thinner than an 817. I think it puts out about 10 watts, so it's a reasonable amount. And they do a price comparison between it and the 705. And the Australian dollars for it is 1,600, subject to exchange rate, versus the 705, which is 1849. So, and it's 10 watts out. Yeah, that's what I thought. But it's only HF and 6 metres. So the 705 takes in 2 metres and 70 centimetres. But
It's got a nice waterfall display.
well and truly. So, very interesting. The red pataya, so back to the digital Duvalaki defeats distortion on any transmission mode. Okay, so this is by Gregory Muse, who's VK4GRM. He talks about the red pataya, which is an SDR, very popular. Oh, hang on, that would be handy if I actually put it on the screen. The red pataya, which a very popular SDR platform. And he's using the Pure Signal program that is built into a number of, in this case it's the HP SDR version of Power SDR, so I found that interesting. Pure Signal introduces what they call pre-distortion, and what pre-distortion is supposedly its benefit is it makes the signal that goes to your amplifier much, much more linear. So you don't have to end up dealing with all of the intermods and all the bits and pieces at the end. So, and he actually shows how he does that.
That sounds pretty cool.
Definitely, that's very much. Now that was the Ross Hull that we worked on with. We went through with Rex. There is part 2 of Louis Desfano's antenna tuning unit project. So this is the construction side, the 4th article of that project, which is part 2. The first 3 were in the previous magazines.
Some pretty cool stuff. It's not a 5-minute project, my goodness.
Oh no. Now, I have to show you this. This is a wonderful page in the middle of the magazine, and I'd just like to point out that we've got now we've got Paul's XYL VK5 PAS,
Okay.
VK5 MAZ. We've got Catherine here, VK7GH. We've got Martin, VK7GN. We've got Lakia and Ava from the Huonville Scout group. Lakia's VK7LJB. Ava, I think, has got her call sign now. I'm not quite sure what it is. We've got the VK3s here. We've got Jack and Ralph here in the VK3. And we've got Andrew, VK1DA, one of the 4 Andrews in VK1. If you talk to anyone in VK1, if you call them Andrew, you've got a pretty good chance of actually getting their name right. So that's a bit of a joke, a bit of a SOTA joke actually, because if they're VK1, then they're probably called Andrew. Now, bit of a spread here. VK4SN Allen's put in the
contest calendar thing.
The contest calendar, well and truly, as a split arrangement. So these are all of the contests that both the WIA and the worldwide contests and all the other popular contests. So if you're into contesting, I think you have at least 2 or 3, maybe 4 each month.
Cool.
So there you go. John Moyle Memorial Field Day rules from Dennis Johnson, the contest manager. Now, how to enjoy operating HF radio contests and log lots of contacts without needing a superstation or a perfect setup, from one Mr. Martin Luther, VK7GN, and that's Martin sitting there at his remote station control desk. And a fantastic article. That's followed up by an article by Roger and also Trent Sampson, VK4TS, which is the 10 tips for tyros with a bit of a grommet, Wallace and Gromit comedy there. There are more than 10, I'll just tell you that. When you get to the other page, you'll notice that it says, okay, we lied, there are more. There's an 11 and 12 in there. So that's 10 tips for contesting. Okay, we're in the home straight here. Beyond the Horizon, strategies for field day contesting on the bands from 6 metres and upwards, from Roger and as the manager of the field days. And there's a bit of a familiar photo here at the bottom, which is Peppermint Hill at New Norfolk, just above New Norfolk. That was a couple of field days ago, I think. A couple of field days ago. There's the van with the 6, 2 and 70.
Plethora of Yargies.
Correct. Sticking out the top of the van, and it did get a number of people did come up and ask when they drove around. That was. And I told them what we got up to. After 40 years of aspiring, dreaming and longing, I finally realised my ambition of going to Christmas Island by Steve Kennedy, VK6SJ. The 4th article, part 4, on Unravelling the Mysteries of Connecting Radios to Antennas by Brian Clark, VK2GCE. And I think there's a couple... There's the newcomers. Okay, the newcomers corner. Now, this is a good segue into our focus for foundation license holders.
Indeed.
Newcomers notebook for foundation licensees. There's a great little article around Ohm's law and also parallel and series circuits. So that's a little feature. You just dropped the mouse. The Meteor Scatter Report, the regular Meteor Scatter Report by Dr. Kevin, VK4UH, Soda and Parks by Ellen Harvey, and also Silos on the Air by Megan. And Alara. And here's a much better picture of Lakia and Ava operating in the Alara contest last year. So I think Lakia's on the keyboard logging, and Ava's furiously making contacts. So there you go. So full marks to the Huonville Scout group for getting everybody on air. DX Awards by Mark Hillman, and that's your lot for this week.
Or this by month.
So Richard, what have you been up to in the radio world, given your
this week?
Huge.
Exactly a very round number of radio activities this week.
Oh yes.
0.
Oh okay. Oh well.
Actually, I'll tell a lie.
We have those weeks.
I'll tell you what, I've made some inroads into putting the 1296 Yagi up onto a rotatable bus on the roof.
Cool.
Along with the 3.4 gig gears. So instead of having to set up a portable station, but been doing some house things, fencing and
Property
getting birds out from underneath solar panels and
Right. Okay.
all that sort of fun stuff.
Right. Yeah, which you have to do, unfortunately. It's just
Yeah, but I'm hoping to have a bit of a crack this weekend, maybe, with the big white dish.
And you said librations down, spreading's down to...
It's really good spreading, not this weekend, the next weekend, but the declination's quite low, so probably the Europeans probably won't bother to come on because it'll be quite low, so
and
I might have a crack this weekend, and the spreading's not too bad, it's sort of around 80 hertz, so with a bit of luck I might be able to get a few in the log.
Fantastic, fantastic. And maybe your friend from the Ukraine, who we're worried about, who's on the Russian border.
Yeah, Rex was saying before, Sergey, you are 5, I can't remember his call. It's a bit embarrassing, but
you are 5, yes.
You are 5, yeah.
But yes.
He's a pretty big player in the AME thing, but yeah, apparently he's 100 metres, Rex said 100 metres from the border,
From the Russian border.
Yeah.
Up in the place where you probably don't want to be. But anyway.
But apparently he was on the logger, and Rex said he didn't seem to be concerned, so maybe he knows something we don't. Or,
oh well,
Your best of luck to him.
Well and truly. I hope life is normal over there, but yeah, we're led to believe here that it's all a bit scary. You've got civilians in the streets learning how to fire guns and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, okay. No, well, that sounds good.
So hopefully that'll be the thing, but yeah, hopefully we can sort of make a few things. But no, it's all good. I'm sort of pretty happy with everything. Well, I've just got to be able to duplicate the successes that I had at the Open Day.
Well and truly.
So, might even put the control system out of the cardboard box into a case.
Oh, crazy
Imagine
talk.
that.
Crazy talk. Crazy talk. Now, our March presentation night.
Yes.
Takes the form of a Focus on Foundation Licensees Forum. So what we're wanting to do is we've gone out and asked our foundation members, both old and new foundation members, so the recent ones and the not quite so recent ones, to come back to us to basically ask what their frustrations are, what they want information on, how they get onto air, what they, who is the experienced people in the club who they can contact and make contact with to help them out to get on the air. So the key thing here. So we're asking those members, and also if you're not a foundation member and you've got a question, by all means,
so it's up to open to everybody. So
it's well and truly open to everybody. And what we were asking you to do is submit them via email, and the email address is reast@reast.asn.au, and that goes to our secretary. And what happens then is we'll put them together without any names next to them, so you don't have to worry about being identified with your question. But we put them all together, and that'll form the sort of the basis of how we get things and the discussions moving on the March presentation night, which is the 2nd of March from 7:30, and we will be streaming it. So we'll be going out and we'll be taking questions and things
the chat, yes,
on the chat. So you can ask things on the night, or if there's things that come up on the night that you want more information about or whatever, please let us know. But so please shoot your questions in, no matter what you think of them. Please send them in.
Questions.
There are well and truly no silly questions. No way in the world. So reast@reast.asn.au, and then we'll put them all together just before the night, and then we'll head through and hopefully answer some of your questions, and hopefully the key thing about this is get people on the air, get foundation members on the air.
And identify too if anybody needs a hand, like to, someone might just need an antenna bolted to their roof and they're maybe not able to or don't feel safe doing it, and maybe some of the other members can sort of we can have a bit of a help day and go out and help people. If that's all it takes, then that's an easy solution.
And if that gets you on the air, fantastic. Our job here is done. So that's what the March presentation night's all about. So please shoot your questions, frustrations, whatever through to us, and we'll see what we can do on the actual night. So yeah, that's what that's all about. Now, videos for tonight for our RF viewers. We've got the Open Day video. We're just going to show that for those who haven't seen it from an RF point of view. We've also got a whole lot of videos on the Langstone project. So this just shows what a number of amateurs are actually doing with the project in real life. So I thought it's great to see it in a sort of skeletal form here in the studio, but it is real. Microwavers are actually using it. Very, very popular in the UK. So yeah, give you a bit of an idea through those videos. So yeah. Anyway, so that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll have another one next week with a whole bunch of new things that we come up with and
New things we haven't even thought of.
Hey, and I always look forward to what Rex has been doing during the week. So there's always something fascinating that comes out of that. So yeah, watch this space. So thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Justin.
And we'll catch you next week. This is VK7 Oscar Tango Charlie, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night, and 73. We'll catch you next week.
73.